I'd just like to say I agree with everything that Provost Reed has said. Computer science and engineering are really where the action is these days. And you can see that in the fact that many students now at the University of Utah are coming into computer science and engineering. We have more than tripled the number of students that were graduating over the recent 15 years. And I would add my comments to Dr. Reed's that the purpose of what we do here is to improve the quality of life. And you can look at communications, the environment, energy, entertainment, certainly safety and productivity, and even healthcare have all been impacted in a huge way by computing. In fact, if you think about what is it that affects our standard of living, it's the total amount of goods and services divided by the number of people. And there is nothing that has affected our productivity so much as computing over the past 40 or 50 years. I'll share with you my experience and how I ended up in computing. I grew up on a dairy farm, obviously in a rural area, and until I was about a junior in high school, I had every intention of following my father's career and being a dairy farmer. Then, in the summer before my junior year, a brother of mine who'd been in the Air Force and been through an electronics course and then ended up working for RCA, building the early missile warning system in Alaska, was home for a visit. And I can still picture us standing in my parents' driveway when he told me, computers are going to be really important. That would be a great area to have your career in. And that was the inflection point for me. As I mentioned, I went to a rural high school. In my high school, they would teach algebra one year and physics the next. And that's as far as it went. And when I was in my third math class in college, I sat next to a student who had graduated from high school a year early and come directly into that course. And at that point, I thought, you know, I didn't get a real good deal in my high school. And I know there are a lot of students still in our state and our city who, for a variety of reasons, don't have the ideal background when they come into school. And I'm really appreciative of Dr. Hall's efforts to put together this inclusive computing center, which helps people who are interested in computing but may need a little different introduction to the first principles of computing in order to succeed. So as she mentioned, we have a different on-ramp for students who need that. We have more TAs, we have more counseling resources, and all of this should be a big help in allowing more students to come into computing. One thing I would say to the students who are here is you are almost certain to run into a bump in the road somewhere along your academic career. There'll be some course that you find very difficult or don't do especially well at. In my own case, I was away from school for a couple of years. When I came back, I got home at 11 o'clock at night and registered for classes at 7 the next morning and jumped right into the next math class. And I couldn't hack it. So I dropped out of that class, but then I was in a circuits course that required that background, and so it was a little rough for me. And fortunately, I stuck with it, and everything came together. But I think most students will have some course that they find challenging. So my message is don't be discouraged. hang in there and you'll be glad you did in the end. Being here at the University of Utah, you're in a great program. You can go to work for any company. You can go to graduate school at any university. As you know, the University of Utah has a great legacy in computing. Our faculty and our alumni have literally changed the world. And we know that future generations of our graduates will have the same kind of opportunities. I see a few students who are probably in the freshman year here. You probably know, but might not, that the University of Utah was the 4th node on the ARPANET, which became the internet. The first digital recordings of sound were done by one of our faculty members, Tom Stockham. Computer graphics were really pioneered here, and that led to things like Pixar. One of our alumni is credited with developing the first personal computer and the first graphical user interface. It was a University of Utah graduate who has the single inventor patent for CMOS, the technology that most computers are made in these days. Of course, we're standing here in the Catmull Gallery. Ed Catmull is the founder and longtime president of Pixar, and we're in the Warnock building, named for John Warnock, who was the co-founder of Adobe software. So it's not easy to get degrees in computing. It takes a lot of work, but the rewards are there when you graduate. Just in this past week, I've been contacted by 3 companies wondering how they could recruit our graduates. One of them is a company that's building a new facility out by the airport, and they want to hire 400 engineers and computer scientists. There will be great opportunities. So again, I commend Mary and the School of Computing for developing this center, and I'm very optimistic that it will continue the great trajectory that we have here at the University of Utah. Thank you.